Would your family be financially screwed if something happened to you? In this video, we're going to talk about term life insurance. So when we start talking about life insurance, it's like eyes glazed over. Nobody really wants to talk about it. But the truth is, it is so important in protecting your family if something were to happen to you unexpectedly. So what is term life insurance? Simply, it's just an insurance policy that will pay out a big fat death benefit, a lump sum of cash, typically tax-free cash, if you were to die prematurely during the period of time that you have this term life insurance policy in force. So how does it work? So term insurance is what we call pure insurance, meaning there's no investment options, there's no variables to it. It's pretty straightforward. The term represents the amount of time that the policy is guaranteed. So for example, a popular product is a 20-year level term life insurance policy. What that means is that once you have it in force, those 20 years, nothing could really change. So as long as you make your monthly premium or your annual premium on time, if you pass away during that 20-year term, then your beneficiaries are going to get a check for the amount of the insurance, which what we call the death benefit. So there are different terms that you could get. You could get what's called an annually renewable term, which is basically a one-year term that renews each year. That is not a popular option. You could do a 10-year term, 15-year term, 20-year, 25-year, 30-year. So you really want to match it to your needs. So for example, if you are a 30-year-old with a spouse and some little kids running around, maybe you would get a 20-year term because you figure, you know what, in 20 years, my kids will be out of college. They'll hopefully be living on their own. Hopefully, I'll also have a big fat amount of money saved in the bank in my retirement accounts, will be financially secure enough that I could be self-insured at that point if I were to pass away after my term expires. But at least during these next 20 years, I'm covered, where if something terrible happens to me, I know that my family isn't just shit out of luck and stuck in a really bad situation of not having the funds to continue their lifestyle, and for my kids to be able to go to college, and for my wife to not have to work or be able to take some time off to be with the family. So you want to make sure that you're protecting them if the worst were to happen to you. So a question you might be thinking is, do I need life insurance? And it's very simple to answer that question. All you need to do is think about, is there anybody that depends on me financially day in and day out, where if something were to happen to me, they would pretty much be screwed? If the answer to that is yes, then yeah, you need life insurance, especially if you're married, you have kids, you have people that you're responsible for, then yeah, you need life insurance. Even if you're a stay-at-home parent and you don't have an income, there's still a very high probability that you need life insurance, because then your spouse is going to have to either stop working at their job to take care of the family, or they're going to have to hire full-time help or send your children to daycare or whatever it may be to replace the services that you're currently providing. So even if you don't have a job, you don't have an income, and you're a stay-at-home parent, you still need life insurance to protect your family if something were to happen to you. The next question I typically will get is, well, how much insurance do I need? And the answer is different for everybody, so it depends on your personal situation. I have a whole another video where I go through exactly how I calculate it for individuals when I sit down with them. But there are different things you want to take into consideration. So for example, what debts would you want to pay off if you were to pass away? Do you have a big mortgage? Do you have large assets? Do you have a big retirement account or big savings accounts that would help where you might not need quite as much insurance? So, there are a couple of rule of thumbs like 10 times your income. There are different calculations that you could use to try to get to a number, but you want to be, pretty precise with it. And you usually want to err on the side of caution. You'd rather have more than too little insurance. So you realize that you need term insurance. You have a pretty good idea of how much you need. The next question is, well, where do you buy it from? And this could be tricky. There's so many different insurance companies and insurance agents all around where you obviously want to be with somebody that you trust. You want to find somebody that has your best interests in mind when they are selling you term life insurance. So it's usually best to educate yourself first, know exactly what you want, and then shop to different companies or go to a broker who's able to shop different companies. Term life insurance is really a commodity, meaning that it's really the same no matter where you go. So you want to try to get the best deal that you could get. But having an independent broker is usually the best way to go, where they could shop all the different companies and find the best policy that meets your need. But the last thing you want to do is go to somebody who could only sell their company's product, and they have more of an incentive to sell you a more expensive policy, and they're going to try to pitch you on buying whole life or universal life. So you want to educate yourself. You want to know exactly what you want walking into that conversation, and you want to find somebody who's going to have your best interests. Another question that I get is, what's the application process like? What do I have to go through to get the insurance? And it depends how much you're trying to get and what the term is and everything. But typically, you're going to have to go through a medical, like blood and urine, height and weight, like a small physical exam. And the medic will usually come to you to do it. It takes 20 minutes or so. But your medical history, your parents' medical history, those things do play an important factor in how much the insurance is actually going to cost you. For example, if you have high blood pressure, if you're overweight, if you're a smoker, it becomes very expensive. Even like family history. So things like if your mother passed away from cancer at a young age, if your father has heart disease, things along those lines could make your premium or your cost of the insurance much higher, or in some cases, you might not even qualify to get life insurance. But overall, the process is not that bad, and it's definitely worth going through if you need life insurance. You do not want to put off getting term insurance. The best time to get it is when you're young and you're healthy, because you could lock in long rate terms at the lowest price possible because you're fit, you're young, you're in good shape, you have no, health issues. That is the time to get term life insurance and to lock it in for a long time. It becomes very difficult to get as you get older and older and older and unhealthier. So the best time to do it is when you're young, you're healthy, just go do it. Get locked in with it, get a nice big fat term policy, protect your family, sleep better at night, go do it. So this video is about term life insurance. So I'm not going to go into the other types of life insurance like whole life and universal life. But I do want to say this. If you don't have any life insurance and you don't have tons of money in the bank and you're basically living paycheck to paycheck, or you have some savings and you have a family that you need to protect, don't let any insurance agent talk you into getting anything but term insurance. That's all you need right now. Don't worry about any other type of insurance. Don't even entertain the thought of it. Just research term insurance, the amount that you need, the length of term that you want to get, and then find an agent who could implement it for you and get you the policy that you need. All right, so let me take you through a little exercise just to show an example of how it all kind of comes together and how it works. So let's say that you are a 30-year-old male or female or whatever. You're married, you have kids, you have a family, and you have no life insurance, right? You're currently working, you're supporting your family. If something were to happen to you, they would all pretty much be screwed. So you meet with a fee-only financial advisor, hopefully a certified financial planner. You go through everything, your assets, your liabilities. You guys come to the correct amount of insurance that you need. And you decide, you know what, I need $2.5 million of insurance. And I'm going to structure it where I'm going to do $2 million in a 20-year term and the other $500,000 in a 30-year term. So for the next 20 years, you'll have the $2.5 million, and then at the end of the 20 years, that $2 million policy will lapse, but for an additional 10 years, you'll have another $500,000 in coverage. This is called laddering policies, and it's a good way to go. I personally did that in my own life. I have a 20-year term and I have a 30-year term. So you sit down, you go through all the numbers, you come to the conclusion of what you need. So now you call an independent insurance representative. They're able to shop all the different companies. They find you the best deal that's out there, the company that's offering the best rates right now. So you go ahead and you apply. A medic comes out, goes through all, that fun stuff, height, weight, blood, urine, all that good stuff. You get approved. So now you get your policies. So now you're covered. So now if anything happens to you where you pass away, your significant other, your family, your beneficiaries, they're going to get big fat checks. Usually the only exclusions, most policies have a 2-year suicide exclusion, where if you commit suicide within the first 2 years, then they don't pay. But pretty much for anything else, they're going to pay out. If your spouse or significant other kills you, then the policy won't pay out to them. But other than that, they'll pretty much pay out for anything. All right, so now you have your policies in place, you're going about your life, and 10 years from now, you get into a car accident, you pass away, your family is going to get a big fat check for $2.5 million for them to spend however they see fit. And the best part is that money is going to be tax-free. So you'll actually have use of all of that money without owing any taxes on it. And that's why you're buying it. That's the purpose of buying the insurance, is to protect your family if the worst case scenario were to happen to you. And term insurance, it's not expensive. It's going to be the cheapest type of life insurance that you could get. It's pure insurance. There's no savings. There's no investment piece to it. You can't cash it in at some point in the future. You know, a majority of term policies, they lapse without ever being paid out. You don't want it to ever be paid out because that means you're dead, right? So typically, you are going to outlive this insurance. It's never going to benefit anybody, but you need to have it. It's the only way you're going to be able to sleep well at night, knowing that your family is protected if the worst were to happen to you. So look at your situation, figure it out, but if you don't have it, that has to be priority number one on your list, is getting your term insurance in place. Hopefully this video was helpful. Please go ahead, check out schoolofpersonalfinance.com if you have not already. Subscribe to my email list so I can send you emails anytime I upload a new video or a new blog post. Join my Facebook group, get involved in the discussion. Thank you so much, and I will see you again soon. Thanks.